Just how small were women's waists during the Victorian period? So we always see photos and paintings with women with impossibly small waists, but was this actually the norm? It is said, for example, that Empress Elizabeth of Austria, known as Empress Sissi, had a famously tiny waist. I mean, you can see that here in this photograph, and her waist apparently measured about 19 inches almost throughout her whole lifetime. However, I think Empress Sissi is actually the exception to the norm because she was famously obsessed with her weight and with her figure and would try and maintain a very low body weight to the point where she became very unhealthy. However, Sissi did follow the fashions of the time for that typically hourglass figure, and this is Sissi again with a tiny waist, a voluptuous skirts and also a fuller bust. So of course, to create that hourglass illusion, one would wear a corset underneath. This is an American corset dating to about 1878. So the corsets would of course shape the waist, push the bust up, and then create that hourglass figure. So this is the back of that corset. And so when laced completely tight, it would create a waist size of about 20 inches. But women during this era didn't lace up completely tight like that. There was often a gap that they could use to shape to their body. As a result, this corset could actually have created a waist that was larger than the 20 inches, perhaps 22 or even more. And actually, in the museum collections today around the world, most dress sizes range from about 22 inches to 24 inches, which is far more realistic than 18 or 19 as with Sissi. It's just that the skirts create this amazing illusion that the waist is far smaller than it actually is. Just as today, women came in all shapes and sizes, and so they would use the fashions to flatter their figure. The large waists, the huge busts were incredibly fashionable, and so this actually suited a fuller figured woman. And then using the corsets, they could still create that small waist and so appear incredibly beautiful and fashionable. But of course, during this era, girls were put into corsets from a much younger age in order to train their waist. This also encouraged their body to mould to the desired effect, which then created a smaller waist as time went on. But then again, waist sizes in the low 20s into the teens were the exception, not the norm. As we moved into the Edwardian period, so the end of the 19th century, the silhouette changed again for a completely slender look. And this is when waist sizes became almost ridiculous. For example, this is Princess Maud. She was a daughter of Edward VII and Queen Alexandra, and she was famous for having a very tiny waist, as you can see here. She was apparently very proud of maintaining her 18-inch waist. However, as I've shown in another of my videos, one must be careful of the Edwardian photograph because photoshopping took place. For example, if you look at this beautiful photograph, you can see that her waist looks tiny, but just on the outside there's a faded line, and you can see it there. And this is where the negative was altered, so her actual waist, which was tiny anyway, was made to look even smaller. But of course, if you want to know more about this whole phenomenon, I've linked my original videos, so do look at that.